Good evening, this is Green Lawn Girl, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing What Remains of Edith Finch. Edith's story begins with her returning to her childhood home for the first time in several years. In a house that has been abandoned.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
Edith's family seems to be cursed, as many of them
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't
have met
allowed
tragic
inside half
ends.
the rooms.
The earliest one we know about is her great-great-grandfather, Odin, who passed away when he tried to move their house, his family home, to get away from the curse. And we really don't know anything about that beyond this point. But mostly it comes across as more of an interactive storybook.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately. I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral. In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know, or she thought the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
And there are parts of this story that make sense and parts of them that don't. However, we're not just dealing with one unreliable narrator, but several.
No one had driven this way in a long time, but I saw a few hoof prints. The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
And
the house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it. As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words. Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house. I hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't. Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me.
like I said, this feels like more of an interactive storybook to me, and you know, even though it does have these gorgeous graphics. The gameplay is very simple, but this is also a short game. You should be able to finish it within in around 2 to 3 hours, maybe 4 if you want to daddle around. Although I will say one thing that annoyed me until I got to thinking about it was these lawn chairs. This house is supposed to be an abandoned for about 6 years, and these chairs are not only sitting up, they're not dry rotted, they're not dirty. I mean, even rainwater would have made them dingy by now. Geez, even the trash can looks brand new.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
But as we explore this house, we'll find different ways to crawl through, and
The power had been turned off the night we left. For the first time in years, I felt like I was home. But instead of a family, there were just memories of one. Like how after Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly. The table was still a wreck from the night we left.
and as we go through,
It was like
we're
a
trying
bomb
to
had gone
solve
off,
a mystery.
killing everyone but sparing the furniture. My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home. Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank.
Yeah, that is one story you'll find out eventually.
A lot of things got left behind in the whirlwind of that last night. My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive. Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library. After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes.
And basically all those rooms upstairs.
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara. Barbara was a child star for 2 years, until America grew out of it.
All these rooms, especially when you look in through the peepholes, they're like time capsules as well as mausoleums. Almost tomb-like. having the former occupant and the years they were alive.
Edie's father, Odin, built the original house.
And because of Mom, we have to find different ways to get through the house. And everything has a story.
My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin.
Yeah, and some of these are very weird stories.
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
In a way, this one won't make sense until you find out his story. That was not actually his bedroom. And he was only 1 year old when he died.
The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait.
Yeah, apparently... Like, Edie married into the family. Either that or her husband took her last name. I'm still not sure how this one worked.
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up. Molly always seemed like a girl I could imagine being friends with, if she hadn't died in 1947.
Overall, I have to give this game a 6 out of 10. I mean, like I said, the graphics are gorgeous, but the gameplay is very simple. And it's not like I said, it's not a very long game. And some things don't make sense, like an underwater train. Oh well.
Lewis told me there
But
were
it is a
secret
very
passages, but I never
cool
believed him.
puzzle game as well.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of. From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me. Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door. Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
Now, obviously, there are themes of death in this game.
I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage. Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
Now, despite all the
I
themes
got
of
the
death,
sense Edie had spent a lot of time here before my mom sealed the doors.
yeah, Molly was actually Edie's first child to pass away. But there's also some themes of life. And this game actually does make you think. Now, while I would not recommend it if you're a hardcore gamer and you're wanting something that you can fight in, or, man, you know, if you're more casual, you should enjoy this for a couple hours, and if you actually have it in your library for PlayStation Plus, I definitely encourage you to play it at least one time through. And also, I would recommend playing The Unfinished Swan afterward, because there's actually a connection between the two games. But I'm not going to say. I'll actually leave it up to you to figure it out after you finish What Remains of Edith Finch and What Remains of Edith, and it's at the end. And What Remains of Edith is, well, you'll find out. Anyway, this is Green Lion Girl. Thanks for listening, and have a good night and happy gaming.